Okay, so if we go on to slide 2, please.
Yep.
Yeah. So I do interdisciplinary criminal research at Leeds. I've done for a number of years, and I'm basically interested in changes in cybercrime in the threat landscape, and especially the way the offenders have become more adaptive and organised to challenge law enforcement. So I'm interested in the policing of cybercrime, and also in the potential for offenders to develop powerful, sustainable online organised crime groups. And I'm drawing here from 3 projects. One, which is still going, it's combating criminals in the cloud technologies. Another one was ransomware and cybercrimes of extortion. And we had a previous project, understanding organised crime and terror networks. And a lot of this, what I'm saying today, is actually in the article which I did circulate and should be on the site. Next slide, please. Next page. Thanks.
Okay.
Yes. So I'm finding that. Yes, that's it. Good. Yeah, excellent. I'm finding that. That today, cybercrime offenders are just becoming more and more professional before. When you look at the structure of the business operations that they're doing, it's more from the business studies manual than the organised crime playbook. And I think Richard mentioned something to that effect before. You think these people have just come straight from college. In fact, many of them probably have. They're more ruthless now. I'm finding with ransomware that they're not just using the encryption to frighten the victim, but they're now naming and shaming victims in public on websites. They're now also they're exfiltrating data, which they use as an additional leverage. And the third form of extortion is bombarding them with denial of service attacks whilst they're trying to make up their mind about whether or not to pay the ransom. Now, the increased yields of the proceeds from cybercrime is causing skilled potential actors to choose cybercrime as a career. And from what I can see, unfortunately, the evidence isn't hard on this, but these people look like the same sort of people that the NCA were capturing when they were 17 years old. These are the people who've grown up because they still have the similar sort of sense of humour. I think Eric, in an earlier session, mentioned these aren't just economic criminals; they're thrill seekers as well. And there's a lot of prankster-ish elements in the way they talk. The key thing here is that over time, the offenders have now become supported by or are part of a cybercrime ecosystem. And this ecosystem, it facilitates cybercrimes. It helps fairly technically unskilled offenders commit highly technical offences. Ransomware as a service, for instance, data markets, and I'll explain later about these. And this cybercrime ecosystem is the new face of organised crime. And it really comprises of specialist services run by brokers or kingpins. And the key thing here is that there's no one Mr. or Mrs. Big or Ms. Big. Recent ransomware arrests have shown that they got the big players. They only got the low-hanging fruit, the monetizers, and the money mules. And so all that happened was that they disrupted organizations, and over time, the offenders bounced back into action. And all this shows that the offenders themselves are not only a mixed set of actors. Some are economic criminals, some are pranksters, some are nation-state criminals. They're incredibly adaptive, and cybersecurity and law enforcement tend to be rule-based. And I put irrelatively, they're actually relatively inflexible. And there's still elements of reassurance policing that are taking place. And this is policing that is just really trying to arrest lots of people and just show that great action's being done. But very few of these actions ever seem to get into the courts. Next slide, please. Yes, and I'm basing a lot of my research on a database which I've developed over the past few years, and it's sort of 5,000 plus cases of ransomware. It's fairly rudimentary, but these are all cases for which there is evidence. The irony is that ransomware cases are fairly underreported, but the attackers actually now name their victims. So if you look at the dotted line along the bottom, it shows what is quite a massive increase in actual number of cybercrime attacks, of ransomware attacks. And I've only taken a snapshot here from 2016 to 2021. If we go to the next slide, please. Oh, sorry about this. Can we go back? Go back. That's my fault. Yes, and what I'm finding is that there are sort of at least 3 versions of ransomware. There was the original spray and pray ransomware, which just this is crypto ransomware, incidentally, and it spits out. They just send out malicious attachments, and if people click onto them, they get infected. This was sort of replaced in the mid to late 2019s with an additional form of embarrassment, naming and shaming, where the ransomware operators name and shamed the victims on their own websites. And today, they have an additional tactics, and this to me is sort of indicative of ransomware version 3, which is where they don't just go for businesses, they go for businesses who supply services to others, and the supply chains. So if you hit the supply chain or hit businesses that provide other services, then you hit all of that organization's clients, and you increase the scalability. Next slide. Yeah, so basically, the new challenges of cybercrime, as expressed in this ransomware case study for law enforcement, is that it's a blended cybercrime. It comprises of more than one crime, and it combines the sort of social engineering, extortion, with the science, the technical, and it's increasingly becoming more social. And that's how they're getting the sort of grips into individuals. Statistically, ransomware is problematic. It's hard to record the dreaded data issue. One of the problems in the UK is that the ransom and the where are recorded as different statistics. They also constitute different bodies of law and fall under different policing agencies, which is quite a hard thing to resolve. But I do notice that the ROCUs, the Regional Organised Crime Units, who work between the NCA and the regional police, actually seem to do quite a good job at this. But by and large, a lot of these agencies have got pretty untrusted relationships with industry. And this is especially when victims pay, because they don't want their victimization to become public, and they want the matter to be resolved quickly. So the public and the private interests clash to hinder the search for justice, and this is at the heart of the trust issue with regard to sharing data. And basically, we need to develop a system that whereby people own the problem to co-produce a solution, something which is very easy to say but very, very hard to put into practice.